Good evening. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Patrick, Eight Questions With, and welcome to another week of fun. This is going to be a really fun week for sure. We have, well, we did lose one guest, sort of. We sort of lost one guest. Um, we were going to be interviewing Salvatore Rucchio. Don't know, not sure if I know how to say his name or not. Um, we were going to interview him on Friday afternoon, um, but he is just still he's still learning English, um, and so he was going to come on with an assistant to go walk through the interview, but he didn't really feel like he could do it justice. So he asked if we could postpone it until a little later on when he has more of a firm grasp of English. And of course, so we didn't lose the interview though. We did get an interview out of it, and but it's going to be a written one. I have not done one of those in over a year. Eight questions with a written one. I have not done that in a long time, but I did send him some questions, and he did answer them. So I will be putting that together, and we will still have interview with Salvatore on the record. And when I do, I will come back and share that with you so you guys can go check it out. Oh, thank you so much, Ava. This is going to be a delightful young lady tonight. Mary Faktor will be our guest, coming from the insanely hot, talented state of Ohio. I get so much talent from that state. It's just insane. Um, by the way, Ava, I did put in my 2 cents for the fish tank. We approve of it. We think you should get the fish tank. Um, Me and the cheetah and pumpkin, and we're thinking of how cool that would be we could watch them at night, and the cats could have a snack during the day. And hey, Anthony, how are you? Let's see. He's got 823 subs. So I'm thinking by the end of the year, you're gonna like double my sub count. That's for sure. Uh, that's what I said too. I said go fish tank too, because I mean, you see all those reels of those you see all those oh hey, what's going on, Dell on movies? All right. What's going all right. This is fun. I don't know. Let me make sure I can go over there. I gotta go over there and hang out for a lot of these new channels been coming up lately. Um yeah, I've let's see, and let's see. And Sarah now has 1,006 subs. Wow, you beat Anthony. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh so we are gonna be see, it would have to be in the no cat room. Oh no, that can't work. They gotta have cats love fish. It's important to their diet, their mental health. Just thinking of if your cat was in the room, thinking of sort of like a catfish. Hey, Echo, glad you're here. Glad you're here. So we will be talking to Mary Factor tonight, and she is not only is she a fine actress, and she does her own one woman play to critical acclaim, but she's also a life coach as well. So we will be talking to her about her acting career and being a life coach and her one woman play. And I was talking to her yesterday before the show, obviously, and I can't tell you she was really delightful. She was saying how early in her career she really wasn't into horror that much, but as she's gotten on a little bit into her career, other roles, she hasn't minded this so much. And she was telling me about a couple of her roles that she did yesterday, and it was she's very charming. What can I say about it? And she's very much like me. Like we want to know I know a lot of people like the mystery of the movies, but we always like to go behind the doors to see how they made what they made. Um, I mean, I like watching a movie and have my belief suspended as well as anyone, but I think all of us like, how do they do that? That's me. That's so me. um, I'm glad you guys are doing here. I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for sharing us out. I do appreciate it. So I explained to you about what happened with Salvatore. So, well, we're not going to get a live interview with him on Friday. We will be getting a written interview, and I will be leaving that in the description box when I post it, and also in the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group, you want to come out there, and I'll be posting a link to the interview with Salvatore, up and coming young Italian star. Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm bummed out about the losing it though, but like I told his publicity person, I'm not interested in having him uncomfortable. If he doesn't feel comfortable with it, we're not gonna push it. Um, and even though he had an interpreter with him, I don't think he wanted to answer his questions for himself. I don't think he wanted to use the interpreter. The impression I'm getting, he wanted to do it himself, but he just wasn't quite there yet. So I say in about 3 or 4 months, I think we'll probably have him back on the show. Uh, no, not right now, Sarah. No, no. Right now I'm on. Right now I'm here on the tube. So let me tell you what's coming up here for the week because we have a lot of stuff going on. Uh, so tonight is Mary, and she'll be here in a few minutes. And then we'll also be talking tomorrow. We'll be talking to the terrific the terrific Mariah Owen will be here from GET Productions. She's an actor and producer, and she will be here. This will be her second visit with us, and we'll be talking about her new projects that she has going on. She's coaching, she's producing, she's being a role model. Just so much going on with Mariah Owen. She's one of the brightest stars I know, and she just celebrated her birthday, so we'll be able to say happy birthday to her. Um, so that will be on Wednesday the 7th, tomorrow, and then on Thursday we are welcoming in published poet Hyde Raven Knight will be with us at 8 o'clock. And wait till you meet Hyde. She is amazing. She has such a cool look about her, and she will be sharing with us some of her poetry. So if you're into poetry, you're into prose, come out back on Thursday, 8 o'clock. We will be talking to the lovely Hyde Raven Knight at 8 o'clock. And then on the 10th, Saturday the 10th, me and the Echo Zero, Echo's still here. Me and Echo Zero, we are co-hosting together the House of Horrors here on my channel. We will be talking to filmmaker Conrad Farja, who some of you might remember. He's been on the show before, but now he's going to pay a visit to us on the House of Horrors. Me and Echo will be conducting that interview on the 10th. That will be a lot of fun. That will be a lot. I don't know how you're going to do your Saturday, Echo. I saw your schedule. You're absolutely insane. I think you have what, 2 watch-along parties plus the interview. That's absolutely crazy. Okay, the 11th. The 11th will roll here, and we have 2 shows. One will have Stephen Chang will be with us next Sunday at 3 p.m. He is a very nice young man. He's a very avid and a very avid and well, I mean, he's just a really cool dude. What can I say? Stephen promotes artists that he really enjoys. He does it for nothing. If he likes you, and he believes in you, you're going to get out there and get noticed. He's going to have you everywhere. He really believes in the people he follows, and so we're going to be talking to him about that. Personally, I can't wait for the young man to actually get paid for doing this. If you're going to go out there and be a publicist, you deserve to be paid. You do. If you and let me tell you, Steven promotes his ass off. He's really good, real good. And then on the 11th at 6 p.m., and this is our third time we had to move the show, but we will be heading over to Cadaver Club's channel to watch and discuss the autopsy of Jane Doe, which you have not seen that. You can watch it on Tubi before the IFC Midnight show on the 11th. And let me tell you, highly recommend it. Wow, the Autopsy of Jane Doe will blow your mind. Such a good movie. Such a creepy movie too. Creepy as hell. And what can I say? It's ISC Midnight. You know it's gonna be damn good, and it's great. Ben from the Cadaver Club, he picked that movie for us to watch. So we'll be watching that. But we'll be back on the 25th too. We're gonna be doing two IFC shows this month because Mary Wilson has picked the one for the 25th, and she picked Backcountry. That's right. She picked Backcountry. So just think Cocaine Bear without the cocaine. That's what you're gonna get. uh, so and then of course the 12th we have John Christ, guitarist from Danzig. He'll be here with Jerry Montano, who played bass with on Danzig. So we're gonna get two mighty artists together, and I think we're just gonna just watch them just talk and reminisce and play some tunes. I can't wait for it. It's gonna be exciting as hell. I'll be joined by uh, I'll be joined by our friends James and Jonas from the Friendly Men. They'll be here on the 12th for our show. Let me see. That's right. I said. um, so that's going to be a really big show for us. Next week's shows are going to be absolutely off the chain. Every night it's going to be off the chain. Um, we have John Christ on the 12th. Uh, we have Elise Moeller Devereaux will be here on 8 p.m. We have Carrie M. Fleming and the 14th at 8 p.m. And we have the lovely John Marie Land also at 8 p.m. Absolutely crazy. And then on the 18th, we had to move it back a day. On the 18th at 1 o'clock p.m., Yui Bowl will be with us. Yui Bowl, famed director Yui Bowl, House of the Dead, The Final Storm, In the Name of the King, Blood Rain, Postal, Rampage, Alone in the Dark, my personal favorite. Uh, he will be here with us to talk movies, and I can't wait for him because you know what? I like him. I do. I like him. I've always liked his movies, and I can understand his. I know a lot of people know his reputation that precedes him, but let me tell you, he is uh, uh, oh, okay. One second. Uh, oh shoot. Okay. Wow, that's weird. Okay, one second. Okay. Okay. So I don't know who else has been going crazy today as far as the computer has been, but wow, ours has been going nuts today. All right. Wow, I gave that to her too, and I got eaten up. That's weird. I know my Instagram page has been totally wiped out today. I can't seem to stay on it for anything. Bull is a fiery sort, yes. Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. But think about this, Dell. I mean, but can you really blame him though? Because you know what? He's got a really unfair reputation for being a bad director. Honestly, honest to God, I've watched a lot of his films, and let me tell you, I can give you 20 directors that are worse than him. And you can start with Ari Aster. As far as that goes. Um, but think about it this way. Imagine you do all this work to make a movie. And even before you even released it, even after you got done shooting it and you take it to post production and you're making you're putting in a post production, you got all these people already saying how bad your movie is, even before you watch it. And every movie that comes out with is attacked that way. I think he sort of has his I think he has a right to be really bitter and really angry. I don't think he's bitter, but I definitely think he's definitely angry. Um, I only would have told him I only would have advised him differently on one thing. I I think the mistake he made, and I think that's one of the reasons that it drags around with him, was that publicity stunt he did in Canada, where he invited four critics to come out and he boxed them because Yui Bowl was a boxer. He boxed. He was he knows his way around the ring, and he invited four guys to come out, four critics to come out there to box him in, like I think 3 rounds, right? Or what? Yeah, I think it was three rounds. And I think instead of trying to knock their asses off like he did, I mean, he went after every one of them. And I know one of the guys who he fought. I think it would have done him better to have fun with it instead of trying to beat up four critics. I mean, you're beating up four of many, right? There's, at that time where that boxing match happened, I mean, every major critic was out there criticizing every release he was making. These guys just showed up, as a way of just saying have a little bit of fun. They didn't expect to get in there and have him go raging bull on him, and basically really trying to hurt them. Um, and that wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look for him at all, and I think that really hurt him a lot. I wish he would have done it better. I wish he would have had. I wish he did it would have did it better. Um, like maybe not try to hurt them so much. Maybe have a little bit of fun with them. Tapping them on the head. Let them get a couple of hits in at the end of the match. They could each put their arms around each other and raise their arms together. A publicity stunt. Like hey, we're both after the same thing, right? We're both after. I'm after making good movies. You're looking to watch good movies. We have a common goal here. I mean, no director, well, okay, maybe one. No director. Okay, maybe two. All right. Uh, 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 three directors. Okay. Other than three directors that I know of, I do not think that any film director goes inside with the intention of making a really bad. Okay, maybe four. Okay. See what I mean? I can think of right now. I'm just thinking right now. I'm thinking of bad directors that I know, and I can come up with so many real quick that are far worse than Yui Bowl. Yui Bowl is a fine director. He really is, and really interesting too is the fact that uh, uh, uh oh um oh boy, we're having our tech. Uh, okay, try that. Okay, I sent my link to Mary. and I sent it and put it in her chat, and I'm looking at it now, and it is not there. So I had to resend it to her. Wow, that is so. And Instagram was doing the same thing. I was posting. Oh, there she is. Yeah, I was posting stuff on Instagram, and it was just disappearing on me. I had no idea what was going on, and then I couldn't even get. I couldn't even. There you are.
Hello.
Yeah, I sent it this morning. That's so weird that happened to you. But I've been having trouble with my Facebook and Instagram all day today.
Uh-huh.
So welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
I don't know what this is up here. I have no idea what this is in the corner.
That's the cheetah. Are you talking about the
Oh,
cat?
okay, okay. I thought it pulled up one of my photos or something. Okay.
No, that's the cheetah right above you.
All right.
Every guest gets protected by the spirit of the cheetah.
Okay.
Uh, 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 all right. We have had a few people here for you,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see. Yeah, we're talking about Yui Boll. Do you know who he is? Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He's a famed German director who made a lot of fun action adventure movies. And in the 90s, he was proclaimed the worst director in the world. Um,
Well,
which
there's
was which wasn't true.
uh-huh.
He's made some really fun movies, and so I'm going to be talking to him on the 18th. And I've always liked his movies. I'm a big fan of Alone in the Dark. He made one weird movie that I can't wait to talk to him about called The Final Storm. I can't wait to talk to him about that. He's also one of the very first ones to do a video game adaptation. He did a
Uh-huh.
movie called House of the Dead, which is
Okay.
like one of the very first movies that was made from a video game. So he's fiery. He's definitely fiery, um, and we're talking about that. And our friend Dell's mentioning, we'll agree to disagree at how good he is, but you make great points about his reaction to all the virtual spewed in his direction. Yeah, a lot of his criticism that he gets is unwarranted. Um, and let that be the first question to you. I mean, what are some of the when we think about actors and directors that sort of like get an unwarranted reputation? Um, I mean, if someone came up to you and said, "Well, I don't really like your acting too much," or you read this in a review, and they said and everything that you came out with, no matter what it was, the same person would write that, yeah, I like this movie except for that person, meaning you.
Uh-huh.
Um, how would you react to something like that? I mean,
Well,
is that something a working actor, a professional actor, is this something you have to ignore, or do you find you would just it'd be human nature to want to react to that?
well, a couple of things. If it's the same person always knocking your performance or knocking you as a person, then you learn to ignore it, because there are some people you can't even say good morning to them and have it be okay. So you have to let that go like water on a duck. You can't take that person's opinion of you. Every one of us has somebody in their life that's like that. No matter what you do, you'll never please them. Now, if you have many critics, many people that you respect or trust telling you you overact, or your accent, your dialects are bad, or whatever. If you have multiple people that you respect and trust telling you, then my father, who was a simple man, had a saying: if one man calls you an ass, pay no attention. If three men call you an ass, go out and buy a saddle. So if you're hearing the same critique from casting directors and fellow actors or whatever, critics, take a look at yourself. Don't be afraid to look at yourself and see, and maybe take some lessons or improve on what it is they're saying isn't working. But don't let one critic tell you who you are,
I
personally
just
or
think
professionally.
Right. See. We're talking about with Yui was the fact that what really gets me and it angers me in this sense for him is a lot of people like they started naming him the worst director. And then,
Hmm.
okay, great. You come out with a bad movie. You come out with a bad movie. Okay, that
Yeah,
happens. It
every
happens to
director's
everybody.
had one. Yeah.
Right. Um, I'm like that with Ari Aster. I don't think he's a very good director at all. I think his movie Hereditary is just it's terrible.
Hmm.
But but every movie he comes out with, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, maybe he'll come up with a new better movie. Even though inside I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if he's capable of making a decent movie. I just don't
Hmm.
know. But I'm not going to say anything about it before it gets out. Like
Right.
Ari Aster's got a new movie. Okay, I'm not going to jump on it right away. I'm going to
Right.
wait.
Okay,
And,
that's fair.
the thing with Yui was the fact that nobody was giving him a chance. I mean, we're not talking like just a few critics. We're talking like everybody was gang jumping on him.
Okay.
They were jumping on him even before the movies were coming out to the theaters. People were already hadn't seen it, were already ripping on it.
Hmm.
And then because after a while, that's got to be because not only is it attacking his craft, but it's attacking his ability to make a
Right.
living.
Right.
That's what really people don't miss. They don't think about that. Was you're attacking him early like this, attacking this movie like this. You're not attacking his craft. You're attacking him. You're
Right.
attacking this. He's got to be able to make a living,
And that
and
can wear you down.
and,
Mhm.
and you gotta wait. You gotta wait to see what develops. Slasher Fred mentions Ed Wood was considered to be one of the worst directors, but he
I
had
saw the movie about him.
yes, but he has directed such cult classics like Plan 9 from Outer Space. And let me tell you, I've seen Plan 9 from Outer Space. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, not by half. I've seen a lot worse than that. Um, but there is a lot of fun though too, in a way to be able to act in a movie that sort of comes a cult classic. Like
Hmm.
maybe it doesn't come out, maybe it's not so good, but good lord, it'll become a cult classic. Um,
Hmm.
uh, have you worked on a movie that's considered a cult classic? Um, you
Um,
know,
hmm. A cult classic, no, but I have worked on a very good movie with Paul Giamatti, American Splendor. I am in that. And it was an extremely unusual movie because it was the first to combine scripted actors, animation, and documentary with the real people all in the same movie. And the script was a screenplay was nominated for an Oscar, but it lost to Lord of the Rings. Go figure. And that was a very different movie, very excellent movie if you've never seen it.
that is Paul Giamatti is definitely one of my favorite actors, and that
Hmm.
is that is considered a cult film.
Yes.
Yeah, so yes, you have been in a cult film. So that is cool though, because to me, I don't know what it is about cult films, cult favorites. It's just I just love that. It's like a
Right.
small, well, even though it got a wide release, it's still one of those movies that it just has a really small, dedicated, fanatical following about it.
Well, people
And
who know who Harvey Pekar was love the
right,
movie because that was all about him. He's buried at Lakeview Cemetery, and people go there and they put pens in his grave. There's thousands of pens stuck
uh,
in his grave
like
over there.
writing pens or
Yeah,
enamel.
writing pens.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so neat. Uh, all right. So the chat is already popping up here. Thank you so much for this. I can already see it's ready to rock and roll. Let's see. Dell says Ed Wood's movies were bad on a technical level, but his work has charm and is endearing. Yes, that's
Mhm.
exactly right. I mean, you watch Plan 9 from Outer Space, and you just, it's just charming. For what it was, and congratulations that he got it made for as little as money as he did. I mean, it didn't make
Mhm.
any sense, but it's a fun movie to watch. And Dell also mentions he loved American Splendor. So again, I have seen that movie. I saw that movie a few years back,
I
because
was the lady at the very beginning, handing out the caramel apples to the children on the porch. Paul
oh,
Giamatti as a child, and then he leaves the porch and he morphs over to Paul Giamatti.
did you get
That's
to
me.
share? Did you share a scene with him, or was that just
No, no,
was,
I was with the boy who played him as a child.
did you get to meet him when he was on set, or
No,
no?
my scene was just the very beginning. It was a flashback to 1950, and I'm the Halloween housewife handing out caramel apples to the kids in superhero costumes, and he cops an attitude with me and storms off his porch. And then it morphs into him as an adult, so it's no longer 1950. So it was a 1 minute scene. I was the very, very beginning of the movie, and I'm in the trailer.
How much? That's still gonna be cool. Uh,
Yes, it was.
let's see. Dale mentions never heard that about Pecker's grave. I never heard that either.
Mhm.
Um,
I was just there for Daffodil Hill, which is wonderful in May. The whole hill is full of daffodils. And I saw his grave and took a photo of it with all the pens in it.
um, so let's get back to you because we want to talk about you. Uh, so where were you born and raised at?
I am born and raised on the south side of Chicago. If you have ever seen Shameless with the nasty family that is in Shameless, they were kind of my neighbors.
Oh,
I lived in a very south side of Chicago is the poor side of town. It's the blue collar side of town. The warehouse workers, the factory workers, the truck drivers. The north side is more the educated, upper crust. So I was born and raised on the south side. And then I moved to the northern suburbs after I got married in the 70s. And then I moved to Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, Hudson area in 1990. My now ex-husband got transferred here with his job.
how did you like? How old were you when you moved from Chicago to
I
Ohio?
was I was going on 40.
Okay.
Yeah,
Was it a big culture shock for you from going
big
from?
time. Right.
Wow.
Well, back then, if you remember, Cleveland wasn't all that great. Cleveland improved through the years and became the wonderful comeback city it is today. But back in 1990, the big news was Tower City's going to have shopping. I mean, it was, and here I was from the Miracle Mile and Michigan Avenue and everything. So it was a shock. But I grew to love Ohio, and I never wanted to move back.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. I lived and grew up in California, moved to Michigan, but I wouldn't want to move back.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um. So, as far as your acting career goes, was that something that you had thought about going? As a young lady, were you thinking about doing something like that, or was that something that came to you a little later?
Well, I loved when I was a kid. My favorite thing was putting on shows in Cindy's garage and Susie's basement with the chenille bedspread on the clothesline. And I would make up little shows and we would perform the shows and we'd sell tickets to the kids in the neighborhood. So, yes, I had the drive when I was a child, but I did not come from a family of encouragement. And so I was not only not encouraged, I was discouraged. I was only in one show when I was in high school. We didn't even have a theater. I went to a Catholic all-girls school, and then it was when I was in my 30s that I got into community theater, and I found that I had a love for it and a talent for it and a natural comic timing. And then a few years later, I wrote my own one-woman show, which I still perform to this day, and that's very popular. And then little by little, I got into industrial films and commercials. I met the Empire Carpet Man while I was an extra. I was an extra in many films, including The Untouchables and Adventures in Babysitting and Uncle Buck back in Chicago.
No.
And I met the guy who was the Empire Carpet Man, who owned an advertising agency that sponsored Empire. And he gave me my first professional commercial. And little by little, I got in the union.
Wow, Uncle Buck. Wow. We're huge John Candy fans.
Oh, yes. In fact, it was funny because when you're an extra, you sit around and wait a lot. That's like the norm. And we were supposed to be neighbors. The scene where the clown comes for the birthday party and he's drunk.
Right.
And it was supposed to be a huge choreographed scene throughout the whole neighborhood with people mowing their lawns and watering their plants. And I was supposed to be one of the neighbors. Well, we sat in this church basement for 3 days while they were working out the choreography. And finally, they gave up and they made it where the clown comes up and he gets one punch in the nose. That was it. So we sat there for 3 days for nothing.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's I guess how do you look at it as an extra though? I mean, do you look at it as 3 days for just one shot, or you look at it 3 days and you got paid for it? And you got 3 days to walk around or to see how things work a little bit more.
That's the beauty of it is when you're first starting out, being an extra is the best thing to do because you learn how to be on a set. You learn how to behave. You learn what back to one means and what rolling means. And you learn the jargon. You get to meet other people in the industry. You're not supposed to talk to the stars. You're not supposed to ask for autographs or bother them at all. Excuse me. I'm sorry. But it's a wonderful way to get on set and learn how things operate. And so I did about 15 big movies in Chicago as an extra, mostly on the cutting room floor. For The Untouchables, I was 10 feet from De Niro all night long. And we were in the opera scene. And I met some wonderful people there that became lifelong friends.
Yeah, that's the best. I mean,
Excuse me.
Sure.
My throat.
That's got to be the best. Yeah, I love The Untouchables. I love Uncle Buck. I mean, you've had some really good pedigree behind you. And so, what are some of the lessons that you learned as far as your acting goes? Did you pick up any good habits from some of the bigger stars that you saw work? Did you see anything that were you going to acting class at this time?
Not at that time, I wasn't, but I did later. I went to some acting classes. I read a lot of books, good books about auditioning. Little by little, when I got in the union, I took some classes, more classes. A lot you can learn online and just by watching other performers. What I learned of being an extra is you learn how to be quiet. You learn how to be patient. You learn not to eat off the craft table that you're told not to eat on. There's one craft table for the extras and there's one for the stars. And you learn how to behave on a set. And
now, did you ever see somebody try to sneak in food like that and get caught?
There was one guy who was in his 40s at the time, 40s or 50s. It was an older guy. I was in my 30s. And they had coffee on the craft table, and he wanted a cup of coffee, but we were supposed to just have water. And he went to get coffee, and they yelled at him. And he said, "I'm a grown-ass man. If I want a cup of coffee, I'll get a cup of coffee." And he got away with it, but I don't know that they ever hired him again.
Right. Do you have any films where you're part of the main cast? Oh yes. Yes. That's definitely coming up. You've had some pretty good films. I loved how you and I were talking yesterday, and you and I were talking about horror films, and you were saying how initially you weren't necessarily a big horror fan.
Right.
And then later on, then you learn, then you're like, okay, I'm behind it. I'm done with it. I'm with it. What horror films when did you go? What movies of horror did not like? And then what was the moment you went from like horror going to like you were like, oh yeah, all right, I'm down with that. Tell us about the transition about you not being a horror fan to a horror fan.
Well, I was raised with the horror films of Hitchcock, like Psycho, for example, where a lot of it is in your imagination. it wasn't gore for the sake of gore, like a lot of horror movies are nowadays. So I remember Halloween was one of the first movies as I got older. And that was more with the blood and the, scary. And then Friday the 13th came out. So I was okay with those. But as things progressed, there are some I just refuse to see. Like, I will not watch the Saw movies. I've read the premises and I just think they're disgusting and I don't want to watch those. I don't like people being tortured. I don't, some of them you can laugh at. I actually watched with my grandkids a couple of weeks ago, Cocaine Bear, and I thought it was hilarious. So the blood doesn't bother me. But I don't like ones where women are being tortured. I don't like where people are being tortured or, rape scenes, things like that. I don't care for that. But, if you see a guy with a mask on with a chainsaw, it's like, it's silly almost. So I'm okay with that. And then being in the horror movies, I've learned, how the prosthetics go on, how the blood, they pour the blood out of the jug, and so it's kind of taken the edge off a little bit.
Does that affect the performance once you know how things are done? Does that take you out
no,
of your
not the performance? No. No, you just go along with whatever the scene is. If you're supposed to be scared or you're supposed to be gasping or whatever. Like in the last one I did, Chains of Redemption, directed by Scott Brosius, which is being featured at the Horror Hotel next weekend, next weekend or the weekend after. And that is, I play an unscrupulous lawyer and I get my throat slit by my client. And so I had to sit there and they had to put the rubber thing on there and then make the slit and pour the blood on me and everything. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow. Well, you did say unscrupulous lawyer, so I'm not really sure how much sympathy we're all going to hear.
Probably none.
Is this like going to be the first horror movie where we're really rooting for the bad guy? It's like,
well,
wait a minute, but the bad guy, the bad guy's getting it, or the bad guy really is the good guy. I mean,
it's an interesting plot. There's 4 people who wake up on this. It's like a historical antique train with a weird train conductor, and we have all died. We've all been killed somehow, and we wake up on this train, and we're facing our redemption. We're facing our judgment. So it goes back then, and it shows how we died, and it shows what happens to us afterward. And it was quite an interesting film.
So basically, what happens is you're gonna. I knew this guy's name somewhere. I knew it. Scott Brosius. He did a 48-hour short film.
I've done many 48s with him. Yes.
He did one called Chains of Burden.
Yes, that was the beginning, which turned into a feature film, Chains of Redemption.
Right, but Chains of Burden, that was with Dominic Cancelleri was in that.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I think I reviewed that.
Yeah, it started as a 48, and then he expanded the script into a full-length movie.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It'd be a good one for you to interview.
It will be. I'll definitely think about it. I definitely want to, because I'm looking at it now going like, that name sounds familiar. And then I saw that says short. And I'm going like, yes. I know that movie because I reviewed it.
Yes.
I watched it. My Dominic Cancelleri was in it. Yeah. That's cool.
I've looked, I've done several 48s with Scott. He's great.
How do you like doing that?
They're fun. I love the 48-hour film project. It's great fun. You have 48 hours to cast and write and shoot and edit and score and credit a film and get it back to the judges not 1 minute late. And it's a very fun project.
Yes. Hey, Max. I see you down there. Wow, it's a small world, isn't it? It's a small world. Chains of Redemption also stars a former guest on the show. You working with Debbie.
Yes, Debbie was the prosecutor in the court scene, and I was the defense attorney defending a school shooter who I'm trying to get off on a technicality, even though I know she did it.
How hard? How hard like that?
Well, you just kind of do it. You read the script and you develop the character.
Doesn't it ever get in your head though a little bit? Like, man, this is like,
No,
especially
not
now.
really.
Like,
I can be anything from the sweet June Cleaver mommy to the psycho killer. It doesn't matter. You tell me what you need me to do and I'll do it. As long as it's moral and legal, I'll do it.
Right, right. I like the psycho killer because no one would ever suspect you. That'd be yep.
Yes, I did 148 where I was this sweet kind of lady in this house, and what they didn't know is I had my zombie son chained up in the bedroom, and when people would come, I would lead them up to the bedroom so he could eat them.
Oh. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
That was a 48. That one's called Safe House if you look it up.
Okay, I'll definitely will look at that. Yeah, Safe House, perfect name for it. So when did you first start taking acting classes? Was that when you were still being an extra in Chicago, or
yes? So, when I was in Chicago, I joined the Second City training school, and I took 157 hours of improvisation training. And that is the most wonderful skill for an actor, to be trained in improv. And then I joined an improv group called General Eclectic, and we did several shows. And it's a skill that I use to this day. I have a friend who's a tour director, and so I call her up all the time with some phony voice and personality, and I pretend to be somebody wanting to book a tour. And I give her all these outlandish requests that, that everybody's gluten-free, and this guy he says, got hemorrhoids, so he needs a donut on the bus, and then does he need to bring his own? And I mean, it's, so I do that. I use my improv to make up stories for her.
On the fly as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you like, what do you like doing better, dramatics or comedy?
I love comedy. My one-woman show is all comedy. It's 90 minutes. I'm never off the stage. And I play a character named Vicky, who ages 50 years through 6 phone calls to her best friend. And in the first phone call, it's about 1960, and I'm a teenager, and this guy's asked me out. I'm all excited. And then the next one, we're newlyweds right out of high school, but my friend becomes an international travel agent. So when she calls, she's always in some other exotic place of the world. And then in the third phone call, it's phone calls like Bob Newhart kind of stuff. In the third phone call, I am pregnant with my first child. I have a master plan, and I'm going to have only 2 children, 3 years apart, and everything's planned out. And then in the next one, I'm pregnant with the 4th child because I use the rhythm method, and I'm bribing the kids with Ho-Hos and Twinkies to leave me alone while I'm on the phone. And the next one, I am middle-aged, going through menopause. The kids are teenagers. And at the end, I'm a retired woman trying to recapture the romance with my husband now that the kids are grown. And so we just got back from a hotel with mirrors on the ceiling where all he wanted to do was watch himself gargle. And it's just loads of fun. And I'll be performing actually tomorrow night at Wagner's in Westlake, mimideals.com. They sell the tickets. And then in September, I'll be at a 1,400-seat theater in the Robbins Theater in Warren, Ohio. And I'll be performing the show there on the huge stage that they have. It's a beautiful theater.
Now, how much of the story comes from your life directly?
A lot.
How much was screenwritten? Like, it came out of your imagination?
I was in the play Same Time Next Year, which is a time dash every 5 years. This couple meets. So I used that concept. And then I grew up watching Bob Newhart on the phone. I wanted to write something that was just me, where I wouldn't have to worry about, oh, my kid is sick, I can't go, my car broke down, my husband doesn't want me. I wanted to just be me. So my phone became my scene partner. And then it was based on my life. I did get married right out of high school to my high school sweetheart. And we were married for 23 years. And then we got divorced. Good guy, nothing wrong with him. It's just we grew apart, typical. And raising kids and dealing with teenagers and going through menopause and all of that was much based on me and friends and other people I've talked to. So it's very universal humor. That's why it's so popular. I've been performing it now for over 35 years, and it's still popular. Yeah.
Have you written any other one woman plays as well, or
no? That is my staple. One trick pony, I guess. But I've written other things. I've written poetry. I've written a book. I'm working on a memoir. And I've written other skits, other sketches. I'm working on a screenplay idea. But that's my mainstay. That's my moneymaker, and that's my tried and true proven thing that's just so popular that there's no reason to give it up.
No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Now, did you have kids yourself, you and your husband?
Yes, I have a son and a daughter. They're both middle-aged now. And my 5 grandkids, ages 14, 16, 19, 25, and 26.
Now, how do they feel about you being a working actor?
They don't really, kids just don't care. It's not a big deal for them. They really don't seem excited about it or anything. Nobody is getting into acting. They don't have the drive. They don't have the desire to get into acting. So it's not something that interests them, really. I think their interests are all in other areas.
Well, it's funny because most of the time where I'm talking to an actor, they're always like, they're always in their early 20s. And I'm always saying, well, how does your parents feel about seeing you die on screen? And now it's the other way around, where it's like, well, how do you feel about seeing your mom get killed on screen? I mean, what's your reaction to that? Are you like, all right, hell no, who did that? Then we'll talk to them. Who wrote that?
I did send pictures to my son of me with the slit throat, and he was like, "Oh, that's weird." He didn't care for that too much.
That's got to be a little strange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just trying to thinking about what happened if I saw that with my mom. I think I would probably be like, I think I'd be tripping. I think I would be like, I expect my mom to be like Donna Reed. That's what I expect my mom to be. I wouldn't expect her to be like, Janet Leigh in Psycho. It's like, what the hell?
Hey, she didn't take a shower for years after filming that. She got freaked out herself doing that scene.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She certainly did. Do you know her?
I also get cast a lot where they want me to look nasty. No makeup, no hair fixed. Just they want me to look old and nasty. So I don't get cast a lot where I get to look cute.
Well, that's not very nice. Well, how do you like doing auditions? Do you ever audition for like? I don't know. I already see Echo shaking his head. I gotta ask. Oh my gosh, the Ice Lord just got here. Oh, okay.
What's that?
The Ice Lord is here.
What's that?
The Ice Lord. He's our friend Wes.
Okay.
And, yeah, he's pretty mighty himself.
Okay.
What's going on, Ice Lord? Let me ask you this. I mean, it's got to be a little bit different, as far as audition for those parts, and we want you to scruff you up a little bit. But do you ever go out for parts like a GCA or Lifetime or a Hallmark? Do you ever try to go for those smaller roles or the more gentler roles, or do you like it to be a little bit? Do you like it a little bit noisy?
Well, we live in Cleveland, and so the auditions are not here like they are if you're in LA or New York. And we don't have, a lot of the big films that come in. And many of the big films that do come in are precast. They bring in their own people so that they want to work with. So they bring in people from LA, they bring in people from New York or other places. Casting used to be in person, where you used to go in front of the casting directors and you would perform the lines. They would say, okay, now try it this way, or that, bring it down a little, or bring it up a little. And you would get feedback and you would get to then show them what they want to see. However, now everything is on, they want you to tape, self-tape auditions. I hate self-taping. I just hate it. There's no feedback. I am not savvy in the computer, and you need to set the lighting. You need to get the sound right. You need to be able to have a reader give you your lines. You need to be able to get it taped and then edited and send it in. I'm just not good at that. And it takes all your focus on the technical part of it instead of doing the role. So I'm not very good at self-taping. And that is the way of the world now. I'm not going to change.
Do you think do you think older actors have it's more of a handicap for them? I mean, it's not.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. We're used to doing things old school. And so now it is what it is, and the technology's not going to change. They're going to keep, it's easier for the casting directors because they can see people from all over the world now. They don't just have to see people that can come into their office. So
Right.
their choices are blown up to many, many more choices. It's harder on the actor. It costs us money to self-tape. We have to get somebody to come read for us or film us or help us. So I dislike it, but it is what it is. That's, as I get older, that's my favorite saying. It is what it is. You deal with what is.
But the good thing is, though, Mary, is the fact that you do have a wide circle of directors and actors and whatnot. They know your abilities, they know your skill set,
Yes,
and
the local people do. Yes.
yeah. So I mean, you getting work, and you getting work is people are going to know who you are and what you're bringing to the party. So which is why your phone continues to ring over and over and over.
Yes,
So,
they say we want someone to look really nasty with no makeup and no
oh
hair.
my gosh,
So let's call Mary.
we have to do something about that. We have to do something.
Oh, I
That's
don't
no.
mind. It's
No,
just what I look like in the morning before I put makeup on.
well, it's funny because when we were interviewing Debbie a few weeks ago, and like she played an evil warden, and
Oh, I saw that
oh,
movie. I watched it.
oh
Yeah,
my
it was
God,
good.
she was so good at that. It's
She
like,
was a hard ass. Yeah,
ooh,
she was good.
yeah, and it's like it's the last thing you expect to see from someone, she's very pleasant, and she's
Uh-huh.
very kind, but then all of a sudden you see her walk up there, next thing you know, she's like, I want you
Yeah,
guys to fight to the death, and you go like,
yeah.
holy shit.
Oh, I love playing bad guys. Yeah, that's fun.
uh,
Just ask my kids. Say no. I can be. I can be. I can be
uh,
like.
uh, uh, so what has been your favorite movie that you worked in? What's your before I ask that, let me ask some questions. You mentioned it earlier, and I hadn't anybody work in that genre, but I'm going to ask you about this.
Okay.
But you mentioned you work in industrial films.
Hmm.
What are industrial films?
Industrial films are like, let's say you work for a school bus company,
Okay.
and they need to make training films for the school bus drivers. So they hire actors and they give you a script, and okay, you are the school bus driver, you are the administrator, you are the teacher who puts the kids on the bus, and they create a scenario to teach the school bus drivers the proper way to deal with, what happens if a kid gets sick on the bus, what happens if your brakes fail or whatever. So they make films for training. And I did one where I played, and it was based on a true story. There was a woman who was a school bus driver, and she loved her job and she loved the kids, and she was a wonderful wife and mother. And she had been at a party the weekend prior and had smoked some weed. Well, she wasn't high when she was driving the bus, but the weed stays in your system for several days.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a student who dropped some change when he got off the bus. He bent down to pick up the change. She didn't see him because he was down, and she ran him over. And she was in prison because when they drug tested her, she had weed in her system. Even though she was not high on that day, she had. So it was teaching them, don't do it. Don't do it on the weekends. Don't, because it's going to stay in your system and then you're going to get into trouble. So I had to play this woman from a prison cell telling my story and crying and being so sad that I hurt my family, and I hurt my marriage, and I hurt this child.
And that was based off a true story.
Yes, it was based on a true story. Yes.
That's heavy. That's heavy. What's it like for you when you do play a nonfiction role? You know, a role like that. You know, is it? Do you prepare for that differently than you do? You know, say other than like a bad lawyer.
Well, it's easy to put myself in a position of how I would feel if I hurt a child. You know, because I'm a loving mother, and I would just I don't know how I would handle it to hurt a child. And then deal with the consequences of being put in prison as a result, and hurting my family and hurting my marriage. And, so it was pretty easy to get into the emotional state when I was telling the story.
You ever had a scene where it's gotten to you so bad that you've had to like you maybe finish the scene out, but after that you just needed some time off to recoup?
There is a thing actors do called standardized patients, where we get paid $50 or $100 for the day, and we help train doctors. We are given a name and conditions and medication list and such, and we go in, and these doctors know that we're actors, but they come in and they are supposed to figure out what our problem is. And then we write out a form judging them on, were they easy to talk to? Did I feel listened to? Did they wash their hands when they came in the room, et cetera, et cetera. And then that helps them to become better doctors. I had one scenario where I was a blue collar lady who got called at work that my daughter had overdosed on my pills out of my medicine cabinet and was in the emergency room, and she was 14, and she had died, and she was pregnant at the time, which nobody knew. And I had to be told this by the doctor. They were training for emergency room training. And so they had to tell me my daughter was dead, and that the pills were mine, and that she was pregnant. And I had to react to this. And I had to do it like 8 times in one day. And I was physically sick for 24 hours after that, because I had to feel all these horrible emotions and cry and scream and react to this horrible news. And it did affect me physically.
Why 8 times? That seems to be
because it was different doctors coming in. This doctor would come in and do it, and then I would react, and then another doctor would come in and do it, and I would react. And I was very physically sick for 24 hours after that. I have not done standardized patients since.
No.
Although some of the gigs were easy, I never signed up for it again.
I would say maybe 2 times would be the limit, and rotate somebody else in there.
Wow. This one was horrible. I never wanted to do that again.
Did you tell them that at the end when you did your exit? Did you tell them?
No.
I would suggest not doing this, Wow.
Yeah, I did what I had to do and what I was being paid to do, and then I went home and I soaked in an Epsom bath, and I meditated, and I did Reiki on myself, and I
Was
just did everything I could to release that.
Has that been your worst experience as an actor in getting rid of a character?
Yeah, that one was tough. There are some parts that actors do have a hard time pulling out of. They have to really work at cleansing themselves afterward.
Yeah. Wow. So that's industrial filmmaking. So you're basically making training films. I never had anybody say they've done that before. I
And
don't think.
sometimes it's simple. It's just standing in front of a chart and giving statistics or whatever. It's not always an emotional thing.
Okay.
Some of them are very easy.
Okay. Wow. That's a story to tell. So let's talk a little. I want to talk a little bit more about Chains of Redemption. So because that's coming up, and that looks to be something I really want to see. And it's coming. It looks like it's going to be coming out sooner than later. So that's really good news.
It's going to be at the Horror Hotel in Strongsville. I'm not quite sure the date, but this month, I think.
I'm sure they're gonna. Are you gonna go to it? Aren't you? You're gonna go to the premiere?
I'm going to try. I have some family coming in for a visit, so I'm not quite positive I can be there, but I'm going to try to make it.
So not taking the family down to watch you get your throat split? Okay. I got a surprise for you guys. We're all going to the movies. Popcorn on me. Okay, anybody want cherry Slurpees before the show starts? Oh my gosh! I can just see that happening now. I can see that just the reaction. Don't tell them what you're doing. Don't. Is that? Hey, wait. Is that your name up there? Hey, why is that guy coming over you? Holy shit! Have you been to a film premiere?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We did see Chains of Redemption at a premiere. What else? There's been a couple of others. I can't remember all of them, but and I try to go to premieres of other people's films, even if I'm not in it, to support the showing of other films.
That's fun, isn't it? You can't get all dressed up and you go out and you get your picture taken and whatnot. I think it's so cool. I see a lot of the small. I see some of the smaller independent films, and it's like. If they're one night, if they're one night or one weekend, where their movies being played in the big city, and which really sucks because it's like, it does suck because it's like, how come a local theater can't sit there and block off 2 weeks and let your movie play?
Yeah, the Atlas Cinema is very good for the local indie actors, but I believe that the producers rent the theater for the night. And then they always have a big backdrop for the photos and things. And Scott Morrison is a local professional photographer here who does a lot of camera work on movies. He does a lot of behind the scenes pictures, and he's almost always there for the premieres taking everyone's photo. He's a great guy. Scott Morrison.
Yeah. Now, when you first got you said you've done some 48 hours too. So now, how rough are those? To make as far as on the actor. Now we talked to directors who've gone through the funnel for that, including Conrad Farja, who you also know as well. He's done a few of those 48 hours films. How hard is it for an actor? I mean, what exactly is your role in making a 48-hour film? Is because it's not just acting. You have to help out. Are you part of the crew as well as that?
No. The hardest thing is on the person who's the team leader, the producer. He pays the fee to be in the competition. He is the one who puts his team together, and then he is the one who writes the script, casts the actors, shoots it, edits it, scores it. He has a sound guy. He always has a boom guy. He has help with editing sometimes. Sometimes he does the editing himself. And then you have to score it. So you have to have a connection with somebody who's good at writing scores. And the big pressure is on the producer / director / team director. As long as the competition is fair, where people don't write the script in advance or cast the characters in advance, it's a pretty fair competition. And sometimes there's questions on that, but it is what it is. They control it as much as they can.
Yeah, I think it'd be very hard to get away with doing pre because there's too many people around and they realize it, and the judges probably too. Now, if you're coming out with a polished script, I mean, basically to me, it's like if you have 40 hours, you should be presenting your film in that 47 hours and 59 minutes because
Yeah,
it should take you all the way to the very bitter end. Someone
right.
who comes out there with a polished product in 32 hours or 40 hours, I'm going to be really highly suspect of that because I
There
don't
have
really.
been stories.
Huh?
There
Yes.
have been stories. There
Yeah.
have been rumors.
Yeah. You cannot do those with. I'm serious. I think it's to a point where you do what you can with what you got, and it's not gonna be complete. It
Yeah.
really isn't. It can't be. It can't be. 40 hours is just not enough time to complete a project. You get it down. If you can get it down within 90%, I think that's success. So if
And there's a
someone
lot
walking
of
up,
rules. If you're shooting at a location, you have to have permission for that location. You can't just be out on the street shooting in front of somebody's store unless you have permission. There's forms to fill out. If you're using a SAG actor, you have to fill out SAG forms.
mm,
If you're scoring, when you score it, it has to be music that's not copyrighted. It has to be public domain, or it has to be somebody's original music. There's all kinds of rules.
yeah,
And you have a character's name, an occupation, and a prop, and a line of dialogue that has to be in every movie so that you know that it was shot that weekend after the
right,
rules were set out.
right. That's clever as hell. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, you said you've done this several times before. What other films have you worked on other than you didn't do Chains of Burden, did you?
I did not do Chains of Burden. I did Chains of Redemption. I did one called Help Us, where I was the daughter, my granddaughter had, remember the old Twilight Zone where the kid could send you out in the cornfield
Oh
if you
yeah,
weren't happy? Okay. So
yeah.
this grandchild had that kind of ability. She could make you shoot yourself, or she could make you harm yourself. And I was this petrified grandmother of hers, that knew what and who she was. And I was just petrified of her. And you could see that in my performance, that I was frightened all the time. Um, and so that was one. It's called Help Us. And what's another one? Oh gosh, I can't remember them all.
What's your favorite
A good
genre
thing.
other than comedy? What's your favorite genre to act in? I mean, do you like doing science fiction as well as horror?
It's drama. Comedy is my number one, and drama, a real character who gets to feel. And that's the type of movies I prefer also. I prefer movies that are character driven,
Right.
that make you feel. Shawshank Redemption, for example, is one of my favorite movies. The depth of all the characters and the feelings, the interaction of the characters. Um, Forrest Gump, true stories. I like the character driven stories. Those are my favorites. So I love a character driven character.
So I guess that when you wrote Six Age of Woman, I mean, you said you drew that, like, was it safe to say about 90% is from your life?
A lot of it is the fact that I married right out of high school, the fact that I went back to work after I had the kids, the fact that I went through menopause, the fact that I had a friend who traveled all the time. These were all parts. She hits a bump in her marriage when she's a businesswoman. And she doesn't get divorced, but she goes through a marriage encounter weekend with her husband at the church or whatever, and helps to save the marriage. So it's the ups and downs that everyday life brings, especially when you have kids, and it's all the weird stuff the kids do, and trying to talk on the telephone when you have children. It's just, they start acting up the minute you're on the phone.
I bet you use a landline in your play, don't you?
Well, my phones changed through the 6 ages. In the first one and second one, I have a rotary dial telephone. And then in the next one, I have a princess phone. And the next one, I have a big cordless phone with the big antenna. And then at the end, I have a cell phone. So that changes also with the times. My
Oh,
costume changes are very simplified.
okay. Okay. What led you to do this one? I mean, what was it just you were
Why
you
did I write it?
yeah, what inspired
Oh,
you to write it?
that's I had played Doris in Same Time Next Year, which is a wonderful movie with Ellen Burstyn and Alan Alda, and it was on Broadway with Ellen Burstyn and I forget the actor. Um, uh, and I loved the show. I loved the character. I loved the show. It's a two-person show about a couple who meets every year for over the course of 25 years. Well, I had done the part. I played it well. We got great reviews. And another theater group was doing the show. And I went and auditioned. And I learned that the audition was a phony audition. The lady who ran the group wanted to do that show because she cast herself as the lead role. And so I came home and I was upset that the whole thing was phony. It wasn't a real audition.
Right.
And I said, forget this. I'm going to write my own show. And I sat down at my dining room table. I had saved jokes all my life. If I read something interesting in a paper or a magazine, I would clip it out. And I had a folder full of stuff. And I decided to do it as a time dash, like Same Time. And I started to write the show. It was the 5 Ages of Woman when I first did it. And then years later, a group of professional women who were mostly either widowed or divorced hired me to do the show. And they asked if I could add a scene where my character got divorced. And I told them I'd think about it. I decided to not have her get divorced, but instead I had her almost have an affair during a rocky time in their marriage. And so I added the 6th act and it stayed. It became the 6 Ages of Woman,
Uh,
a
any chance?
play off the 7 Ages of Man, which is Shakespeare.
Any chance it'll go into seven stages? Or?
No, I ended on a very up. Yeah, I've had people ask me that. Well, why don't you have it where her husband dies and she's a widow, or where she gets sick or something? And I thought, no, I end it where she's ready to be a grandmother for the first time, and I'm going to be the perfect grandmother too, and I'm going to be kind and patient, and I'm never going to yell at the kids, and I'm going to bake homemade cookies. She's always thinking everything's going to be perfect. And so that's the way the show ends, is that she's recapturing the romance with her husband now that the kids are grown, and she's ready to be a grandmother for the first time. So I keep it on an up.
I think that's the way. I think that's the way to end it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need to go through being a widow.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to end it upbeat. She's still got a lot of life to live, is the way I wanted to end it.
Yeah, being a widow or a widower is way overrated. Let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Not yeah. You've already seen too much of that in real life. You don't need to put that in.
Yeah. Well, I went through a divorce and I'm remarried. It'll be 17 years next week, and I'm not looking forward to that stage at all.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been with me for 10 years. Let me tell you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sucks.
It does.
So what was it like when the first time you rolled it out? Now I
The
know
first time I did
almost
it?
like because it's almost like being like the first time on stage, right? You go on the first time. What's the first time you went on a live stage or a movie set? I know for this you have. I bet you could close your eyes and be there like that.
For the first time I did the show?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I had up to that point only done community theater. So when you do community theater, you pay. I mean, you're paying your own travel, your own gas money, your own time. You don't get paid to be in community theater. And so when I wrote the show, I'm a big believer that when you decide where you want to go with your life, the universe opens up for you. And so I wrote this show, and that I knew I wanted to do it. And I picked up my local newspaper one day. This is way pre-internet. And there was an ad in the classifieds that said, local women's group looking for programs for the upcoming season. And so I called the number and I said, I understand you're looking for programs. And she said, oh, yes. What kind of program do you have? And I said, oh, it's this woman on the phone. I didn't even have a show yet. I didn't even have a script yet. I just had the idea. And she said, what's it about? And I said, oh, she's a woman on the phone and she's talking to her best friend. And she ages 50 years in the 6 phone calls or 5 phone calls. And she said, oh, it sounds wonderful. What do you charge? I never even thought about money. And I said, $10. She said, we'll take it. And so that was my first gig. And I finished writing it at 4:00 in the afternoon and performed it at 7:00 that night. And I had a script written in magazines as a cheat sheet. And I asked their permission to tape record the response. And I did. I set up my little cassette player, again, pre-internet times. And I taped it. And then I went home and I sat at my dining room table and I listened to the tape. And I looked at the script and I went, oh, that didn't get a laugh. That should have got a laugh. What do I got to do to change that, the way I wrote that? And then I made changes. And I did it again and again and again like that. And I was $25, I was $50, I was $100 for years. And finally, one day I performed at a fundraiser. And there was a couple who did mind reading act for conventions. And they saw my show. We were all at different rooms in this big high school. And the guy said, can we take you out for coffee? And I said, sure. And he said, may I ask what you charge? Because they went and sat and watched my show. And I said, $100. And he said, do you know how good you are? Why are you only charging $100? You should easily be $300-$400. And I went, really? Oh my goodness, I never realized. And so he said, yeah, you can always go down. You can never go up when you tell them what you want to charge. And so I took that advice. I'm big on taking advice. You can learn through wisdom or you can learn through pain.
Right.
And the next time someone called, what do you charge? I said, $300. They said, okay. Next time I said, $400. They said, okay. Next time I said, $500. They said, oh, we only have $400 in our budget. I said, all right, I'll do it for you for $400. And so that's the way I started upping my prices. And then the show grew where I got a bigger set and I got more props and I got my own sound system and a curtain. And I grew the show and I started charging per person. So my bigger audiences make me more money. My smaller audiences make me less money. And then a local newspaper found out about me and they said, we want to book this. We want to do all the advertising and take care of all the ticket sales. And it's the Mimi Vanderhaven newspaper, which is all around Ohio. And it caters to women. And they said, we're going to do a full page article on you and we're going to handle all the ticket sales. And we'll charge X number and we'll split the money and we'll find the venue for you, the country club, the hotel ballroom. And I said, sounds good to me. And we have been now together for probably 7 years. And I do about 6 shows a year through them. They take care of all the details. I show up, do the show, and we split the ticket price. And everybody wins.
Have you licensed your play out?
I have not yet, but now that I'm getting older, I'm looking into those possibilities. What am I going to do when I'm ready to retire and not do the show anymore? How can I continue to make money with the show?
Do you know a playwright named Stephen Foster?
I know the songwriter from the 1900s, Stephen Foster. But no, I don't. Foster.
He's a playwright based out of Los Angeles. I'll connect with you. I'll connect with him and you after the show. He's a playwright, and he might be able to answer some of those because he's written several award-winning plays.
Oh, great!
And his plays have been licensed out.
Okay. And yeah, I've thought of that. Now, when I'm ready to retire and I don't want to do the show anymore, how can I continue and
Like
then leave it as a legacy for my kids.
yeah, because you could have this play being every night being played every night and making that money every night.
Well, the fact that I've been hired to do this 1,400 seat theater in September, that's different for me. Usually I have 200 or 300 people in the audience. So this is going to be a whole different thing for me. And I'm hoping that if it's really successful, they'll have me for multiple performances. Yeah.
Yeah, I ask that a lot of times from actors. I'll say, especially if they're doing theater, and I'll sit there and say, what would you rather do? Would you rather do a revival of, say, Phantom of the Opera, or would you rather be part of an original playwright's work?
Uh,
And honestly, I would say easily about 85 to 90% of the people say original work. They'd
right.
rather be
Because you
part of,
get to create the character.
yes,
You're
yes,
not just copying what somebody else has already done.
right.
Yeah.
You see people winning Tonys for that, and you're wondering, like, you're winning a Tony Award for doing someone else's job. They already
Yeah.
did it before you. It's just, I don't know if I could handle that.
Yeah.
I don't mind being nominated, but I don't. Well, yeah, you won for playing. You're the Phantom. Here you go. Well, no, I'm look at the 20 Phantoms before me.
Right. Exactly.
They all set the table. Why am I getting an
Right.
award for all the work that they put into it? I
And
rather just
I've
yeah.
heard actors talk about, oh my God, I'm so tired of being a cat in Cats or whatever. It's so boring for them after a while because it's same old, same old, same old every single night.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Even though you're walking around without that safety net, cut, let's redo it. Now if you mess up, now it's like Cats the movie. You
Right.
can see
Right.
Judy Dench's butt. You know,
Yes.
yeah. um,
There's an excellent playwright in town that's had many shows, including on Broadway. His name is Eric Coble, and he lives in Cleveland area. Coble, Eric Coble, and he's really good. And he's got several plays that have been extremely successful.
do you like where you're at right now? I mean, are you happy with your age right now? What you've accomplished?
Oh, I wouldn't mind being younger. You get you get the arthritis or whatever, or you see the new wrinkles coming in. But I wish I was 21 and know what I know now. I wouldn't want to be 21 again and be as dumb as I was when I was 21. But I would love to have my old body back. I would love to have, my old face back. Um, uh, I'm 72 soon. So
Are
the
you
parts
really?
are. Pardon?
Are you really? You really? I would have never guessed that.
Yes, I'm 72, and I would love to be in my 30s again, and with the body I had when I was in my 30s, and be but know what I know now, because I would have done a lot of things different. I would have gone to LA. I would have tried for a bigger playing field.
Uh,
Definitely.
it must be the water in Ohio. I'm telling you, that's got to be the water because you don't look 72 at all. I
Smoke
mean,
and mirrors, baby. Smoke and
uh,
mirrors.
'cause I read I saw what because Debbie told me her age too, and I'm going like, oh, there's just no way, no,
Yeah.
no. 'Cause she looks like she's like 40,
Yeah.
and it's just like no, and it's like that's just an amazing thing. It's just the water. Echo saying, who wouldn't want to be younger or have a younger body with the brain we have now?
Yes.
I,
Absolutely.
you know, I would definitely want to go back and make better choices. Yeah, I mean, that's what I regret more than anything else. I would make a lot smarter choices than that
I
I
wouldn't
have.
have had the fear of trying for something bigger. You know,
Right. Uh, where do you see yourself at this time next year?
um, hopefully more gigs with my show. I would love to have a good, meaty featured role in a major motion picture. Um, if Steven Spielberg or Ron Howard decided to give me a call, I'd jump at the chance.
I'm
um,
sending this to them after we're done.
And with my show, I'd like to be, to having more. I do about probably 8 to 10 shows a year. And I would love the larger venue if they do well with the ticket sales to have me back. I doubt that we'll sell 1,400 seats. I don't have a big name recognition like having a big star, but the theater is absolutely lovely. We're talking marble staircases and velvet seats and state-of-the-art equipment and a huge proscenium stage, and it just absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm hoping we do really well with the ticket sales.
I do too. But let me ask you this question too, and I'll let this be our closing one.
Uh-huh.
If you could cast someone to play your role other than yourself, because you have to recruit, because you're going to be directing.
Oh, okay. I'm going to direct my life story.
Yeah. What actress would you like to see play you in that role?
Oh, goodness. Gosh. I know I've been compared all my life with Shirley MacLaine, but she's got about 20 years on me. But I used to get stopped in malls and elevators. And, do you know you look like Shirley MacLaine? She's for now. Gosh, I can't think of who I would pick. I guess it depends on at what age. At my age now, or younger. Typical blonde type. I don't know. I really don't know. I never thought about it.
See, and Sarah is letting us know that her mom, that she's 40, and her dad is 77, and her mom is 76.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Sarah turned 40 earlier. Well, I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. This is a lot of fun. I hope you had a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. Have me back anytime.
I definitely will. We didn't even touch about the other half of your career. We didn't even touch about any life coaching questions. And that was like a really big thing for me. It's like, I want to ask her about being a life coach, and I didn't even get to it because there's so much to talk about beforehand.
Okay, now when I was in my early 40s and going through my divorce, I was screwed up. I had been married since I was 19. I had dated him since I was 14, and I was messed up. And so I went to California and I trained with Jack Canfield of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
Oh,
and then I read also Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, which came out in the 90s. And I went back to California and I trained personally with John Gray, Dr. John Gray, about relationships. And I took their materials and their training, and I got certified to teach self-esteem and life balance. And I created a workshop called Inner Voices, Smart Choices. And then I see clients on a one-to-one basis also, where I can help them to get unstuck. If it's somebody with a major psychological problem, I immediately pass them off to a certified, licensed psychologist or psychiatric doctor. I would not attempt to work with someone with schizophrenia or severe abuse issues. But if it's just somebody who's going through a divorce, or they're stuck, or they're at odds with their child and need to communicate better, those people I can help. And so I've done well with that.
Is that the 9 to 5 for you?
That's whenever the phone rings. I don't really promote it that much. It's just people, word of mouth.
Okay.
I've had people. I do the workshop. I did a workshop at a women's retreat, a Catholic women's retreat, and during the intermission, I was on for 45 minutes or an hour and a half, I think, and then we broke for lunch, and I was going to use the bathroom, and this woman came up to me and she said, "I just got more out of a 90 minutes listening to you than 20 years in counseling with my son." And she said, you nailed it. And I hear that a lot. I got more out of 2 hours with you than 20 years with a counselor. I have a gift for it. And I just want to help people.
Yeah. That's a good trait to have. That's a good trait to have. I want to thank you coming out and hanging out with us again. And yes, we will have you back. We will definitely have you back
Anytime.
when Chains of Redemptions come out and gets out there and starts playing out there. And we're gonna come have you bring you back and talk about that. I'm gonna reach out to Scott and see if he'll come out and hang out with us and talk about that movie too.
Absolutely. I'll put in a word for you.
Yes, because
And
we're
then I
gonna.
know that it's being shown at I think it's called the Horror Hotel. It's in Strongsville, and it's this month. So if you Google it, take a look, and they are showing Chains of Redemption at that.
That is so cool. I'm gonna have to contact Dominic and let him know that hey, and then I have to ask him why he wasn't in it. That's a little. I hope he didn't give. I hope Dominic didn't give up his career. He's actually a pretty good actor himself,
Mhm.
and I haven't reached out to him in a little bit. I need to do that,
Sometimes
especially
you
with
just have a
Dominic.
conflict, a family conflict or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, it happens that way. It
Yeah.
does. I want to thank the chat for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. This was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for participating. Let's see. Sarah's mentioning that her brother used to be married and now he's divorced. I'm sorry about that, Sarah. Uh, Tomorrow night, we'll be back at 8 o'clock with powerhouse Mariah Owen. Mariah Owen is 29 years old and she has done so much already. You know how you're saying how you want to go back to
Yeah.
being that's Mariah now. You would be Mariah if you Mariah is a lovely young lady, powerhouse too. Not kidding. She's yeah. As much as you are mighty, she is a powerhouse. She produces films. She's acts in them. Uh, she's poised. Her and her friend Leah McKendrick. They have a new movie. It's going to be coming out probably most likely in the fall called Scrambled. It's going to be popping. That movie's going to pop.
Great.
I
Hey,
can't
if
wait
she
for it to
produces
happen.
films, tell her if she needs an old broad to give me a call.
I definitely will. And you got your passport, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
because she is Canadian based. So if
Yep.
she, yep, I definitely will. Um, but thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Mighty Ice Lord. Ice Lord. Yeah, that's Wes. He's our good luck charm. Um,
Great.
all right, you stay right where you at, Mary. I'm going to say goodnight to the chat, and we will see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with Mariah Owen. Thanks for coming, and peace.
Good night.
Come on.